Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, can I say how fabulous it is that there's this tribute to Damien tonight?
Thank you, folks. Can we have your attention, please? Shh.
Speaking on behalf of the brothers Roth, can we thank you for making this tribute so special to Damien, because he is a rather special person. Now, can I, just so that you know a little bit about Damien in a little bit more depth, can I mention I'm Glenn, an ex-Armidale, and I've driven from Gundawindi today. This is Grant, who's flown up from Melbourne. Stuart has driven up from Newcastle. John's come across from Perth, and this is with our wives, by the way. And Ashley's from Adelaide. And Damien has come all the way from Armidale. He's just walked across the road. But just to give you a bit of a feeling for where Damien's come from, I was the firstborn in 1949, and Grant followed sort of about a year later. And I think Mum and Dad were pretty happy with us, right? No, seriously, we were pretty good. We were pretty good babies. But then all of a sudden, a couple of question marks came when Stuart was born. Seriously bad temper, right? And Grant and I never saw him as a team player in that he didn't do the things we wanted him to do. Right? Like jump off buildings with an umbrella. And then John came along, and as you can see, he was a rather sickly baby. And you know, a lot of our life-death things, and of course, you know, poor John all the time, like we languished. And I think by that time, Mum and Dad had decided they really didn't want any more children. I think they were done with children. Right? And then Ash came along as a serious accident. But actually Ash turned out to be, you know, the bright light in the family, you know, the degree in law at Sydney University, on to masters, represented country, like a perfect child, which was a bit disappointing to Grant and myself at this stage because the contrast was fairly severe. But Mum and Dad had 5 kids in 8 years, like we 5 here were in 8 years. And we were really sort of fairly happy with that, and we thought that was it. A decade later, 10 years later, came Damien. Now, if we thought Ash was an accident, Damien was a disaster. But can I say, and I think this is touching, all Mum really wanted in life was a daughter. And she got us, right? But Damien tried his very best to be the daughter that Mum wanted. He grew his hair long, right? You know, beautiful locks. Right? Like most women I know, he wanted to be the centre of attention. And he became, in fact, I think Sue described him as a spoiled brat, really, which indeed he was, because in essence, and you can appreciate this, he was an only child. Right? Like 10 years later, he really was brought up as an only child, a fairly spoiled only child. Right? The reason he came to Armidale was actually myself and drummer, really. In the early days of the old boys rugby, like we were serious about actually winning premierships. And Damien was up in the Northern Territory, I think, doing some landscape gardening. And we wanted him to come along and play rugby for old boys. So I set out an SOS, and all of a sudden he came. And having spent about a month playing rugby, he thought, I probably should get a job here. Right? And we thought that was a good idea. So we lined him up with an interview with Brother Gary Coit, who was actually the principal at O'Connor at the time. And we told him, whatever Brother Gary says that he wants teaching in the school, you do it. Right? So in the interview went something like this. You know, we'd like you to teach religious education, Damien. Oh, card-carrying Catholic. I can do that. Right? Physical education is that we've got just one line of physical education. That's what I'm trained for. That's what I did at Newcastle University. Environmental education. Whoa, environmental education. That's my passion. That's my computers. Computers? I spent half my life on computers. I can do computers. And what was the fifth one?
Sex education.
Yes, sex education. Yeah, I'm a specialist. He's done the sex education thing. And all of a sudden, Brother Gary's given him the job. And he's kind of me and said, Glenn, help. I actually have to teach all those things. Which in his first year he did. What's environmental education? I don't even know what that is. And here it is, how many years later? A few. 20 years later, yeah. He is here. And actually, in the midst of that, he did actually do the old boys proud too. He wasn't a bad rugby player till, as John pointed out in his poem, he got knocked on the head in New Zealand. One of the lovely things about my godson, and Damien is my godson, is that he's essentially a very good human being. Right? He's loyal. He is incredibly. He's incredibly loyal to the absent. Have you ever tried to say something negative about someone else in Damien's presence? He simply doesn't let you do it. Who knows Jack Fleming here? Is Jack here? No. I can tell the story. Jack's sitting in the staff room at O'Connor, and he says, that bloody, and he talked about some lady on staff, and I won't mention her name. She's not here, do it. No. He said, she's hopeless. I'm trying to organise the athletics list, you know, and she'll just do timekeeping. She just won't do anything else but just selfishly just click a clock, right? And she's like that the whole of her life. Like that, she's the most selfish person I've ever met, right? And Damien's gone, oh, Jack, you shouldn't be telling us this. You should be actually telling her herself directly, right? And at the other end of the staff room, right, he's gone, Mary, Jack would like to say something to you, right? And we've all stepped back 3 paces because it's like a gunfight that you don't want to be part of. Just imagine Jack next time saying something negative about anyone else. Does not happen, right? He even says nice things about his brothers too. And I think, right, that's just fabulous because it's very hard to say nice things about a couple of these characters. But Damien does find it. So, Damien, on behalf of all of us, we've actually got a little gift for you too. I'll tell you what it is. It's the old classic, Jenny, you'll love this, the walk over the Sydney Harbour Bridge for 2. And bed and breakfast at Camperdown. At Daniel and Elaine's B&B. You can't ask for better than that. Well, you actually can ask for better than that, but you're not getting any better. I will ask my brothers if they'd like to continue the monologue or say something. But Damien, on behalf of all here, happy birthday. It's been a good 50th, and I use the word good in the very best sense. Right? Yeah. So we'll give you more of this.